Pull up a stool and pour yourself a pint as you're about to join three intrepid drinkers, Kevin, Justin, and Mark, as they embark on another Beertastic voyage.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Beertastic Voyage. My name's Kevin.
I'm Justin.
I am not Mark. You guys are wrong. I'm not Mark.
No, you are not Mark today. We have wonderful guest appearance of Greg. Hey, Greg Kelly, how are you, buddy?
What's happening?
Dude, it's great to have you back on the show. Always a fan of when you join us. How's everything been?
I don't know why you guys would include me, but I'm here. I had nothing else to do, you know?
That's mostly it. It's really availability. I hear it's the number one ability.
Well, the funny part is, in this particular instance, and we'll explain more in a minute, but Greg finished second to me again, but he also finished second to himself.
You finished second to yourself?
I'm good at that.
I was going to say, that's a special skill, usually.
Yeah.
Usually I can at least finish myself first.
So we are doing the Moustache Brewing LIBME Proam beers. So
Awesome.
You've heard us talk about it before. LIBME does a Proam every year, and we partner with local breweries, and this year it was our friends at Moustache Brewing. And the three winners were Mark, who, by the way, is not here. He's a little under the weather. Hopefully he feels better and pulls through.
Yep.
If not, we have a good third.
Mark, don't drown in your own fluids.
Yeah, don't do that. So this year I won, Mark won, and Greg won. But
I win because I get to drink the beer.
yes, but one of the beers is Mark and I. One of the beers is Greg by himself, so he kind of sort of won. And then the top beer was all three of us.
Amazing.
with a small nod to Coney Island Brewing.
Yes. I really appreciated how that worked out when you explained that to me the first time. I was like, I think I need a flow chart, but other than that, I'm with you, and I like it.
It was really cool. Watching the final table and having them talk about it, there were two beers that were really close to the one that all three of us did. And when they decided that we won, it couldn't have worked out better. Like, I was so pumped. It was really really great. So the three beers are a pale Doppelbock called Doppel the Pleasure, Doppel the Bock, and that's the one that Mark and I brewed. And in the grand scheme of how things worked out when we brewed them at Moustache, that was kind of the one that was very good, but it wasn't going to go to GABF, which, by the way, was the big prize, is your beer going to the Great American Beer Festival, which we did go to. The beers, at least.
Yes. Then facing me, there is a Bière de Garde.
That was numero uno. That, as of the first three that were brewed, that one was chosen to go to GABF and got rebrewed, and we have both versions here.
Oh, very fun.
And sitting in the middle, the one that almost went to GABF.
This one.
You
were going this way.
Is You Enjoy Myself by our friend here, Greg Kelly. What is it, Greg?
It's an English porter.
Fancy that. You made an English porter.
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
It is a long story, but yes, it is an English porter.
Essentially, Greg is known for his British browns. And he brewed a British brown with some new grains. He didn't have the exact right grains that he usually has, and it came out really dark. And he entered it as a English porter. And Mark and I actually judged this beer. Yeah. I didn't know whose it was when I was judging it. No, we're going to start with this one.
This one. I'll crack it open.
Yeah. And so we, Mark and I judged it, and the second we looked at each other, we knew we were in deep shit because it was phenomenal. But I will say that I did have two beers in that final table too. So.
He had to mention that.
So the first one we're opening up is Doppel the Pleasure, Doppel the Bock. This is a pale Doppelbock that Mark and I made. And for those who are not familiar with the Doppelbock, it is a generally a very dark, malty, strong beer. The pale versions can be a lot hoppier. Ours is probably not as hoppy as it should be for style. This is also a crowler from July, so this is going to be a fun experience.
Listen, I'm impressed with how much carbonation is hanging in there. So it still looks like it's in good shape. I got to say, the color is a beautiful multi-amber color.
Yeah, it's clear.
It seems clear. I'm not seeing really much anything. And it's got a nice, cream-colored head to it, too.
Man, this held up really well. Really, really well. On the aroma, you get, the faintest hint of,
this
a hop,
good.
And then you get the maltiness. I mean, the maltiness finishes on the aroma, the malty finish on the aroma is, it's really, really nice.
This is really creamy. I think creamy is the word that popped in my head immediately, and it's really tasty.
In terms of the mouthfeel, you're getting that?
The mouthfeel, it kind of has that. I guess it's the mouthfeel. I guess it's the foam that came through because there's plenty of foam still in there. But
I'm getting a little bit of a toffee character, a little bit of caramel notes. It's It's an excellent beer. The hop character is still fairly present too, which I was shocked about.
It's pretty impressive. I mean, wow. My favorite part about it is like the kind of the nuttiness that moves into that toffee caramel, and then this version that we brewed at Moustache, as opposed to the homebrew version that Mark and I did, has a much more prominent and better hop character and bitterness that cleanses the palate a little bit better than ours did. And the feedback we got at all the competitions we put it in, that was the number one thing, was that
needed a little more cleansing.
It needed more bitterness to balance the malt.
You know, this is very well balanced.
Yeah, no, there's a nice cleansing feel to it. It doesn't feel in that way that, as creamy as I mentioned it feels, it doesn't feel cloying. It doesn't stay on the palate too long. It has off well and makes me want to go back for more.
It has a really solid body, and then the finish is I would say balanced to semi-sweet, but it's close enough to balance that it doesn't appear cloying.
But it has that nice hop bite that really, I think, leaves it to where you could say it's balanced, where it does have a nice sweet character, but with that hop balance that comes through and lingers on your tongue a little bit, it really settles nice and is really nicely balanced.
Yeah, I'm pumped because I was very worried. You get crowlers and they're sealed like cans, but for some reason I've had bad luck with crowlers lasting very long. And anybody, even I imagine Moustache would say, drink crowlers on the faster side.
Yeah,
I mean they're definitely better than a growler. And they're sealed, should be sealed better than that, but they're definitely not a forever option.
Matt and Lori, your crowler machine, doing very well.
Yeah, this is calibrated very well.
I think that's what I was going to go to. Like the machine, like I've seen how some of the folks at various places use them, and they're just kind of throwing things together, and you're going, that really doesn't seem like it's all that solid. I don't think it's going to leak too much, but definitely not airtight.
I've actually been driving home and had a crowler top just clean pop off, like the whole lid. It didn't even get sealed
by an unnamed brewery.
Yeah. No, they're definitely friends of ours, and it was very funny, and we were all drinking when it happened. Yeah. So I'm certain it was just a complete oversight. They didn't even put it in the machine. I just thought it was really funny that it was like chilling in my cup holder, and like the top just popped off, and I'm just like, oh, that's a thing.
They just missed that one.
Yeah, I now have an open beer container in my car. Well, super.
I had that bottle sitting in my cup holder.
The Machine Gun Funk from TBC that I can't wait to drink.
Oh, that looks good.
I just saw that posted.
Yeah. He got it for me while he was at work on Friday.
I got out of work a little bit early on Friday, and I was like, I have time to go to a bar for a minute. This is great. I need
Farmhouse stays on.
Yeah. Dude, this is really spectacular. I'm enjoying this, and I feel like it's very approprient for the chalices that we have.
Yes, I brought out the nice glassware for this.
This is how it should be.
Yeah,
served.
This comes in at 7.4% ABV, Woo! So it's got some heat to it. I mean, it's actually the second lowest one we're going to drink. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel weird rating it, so I don't necessarily think that I should rate it, or But
you made me rate it last time.
Okay,
beers,
all right,
so
that's
get
fine.
over yourself.
Yeah,
all right, that's fine. I mean, this would be a growler for me, solid growler. I mean, I'm a fat slob. I can handle 7.4 in a growler.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a bomber for me. I think that's right where, like, this is one of those classic end of the long day beers. Like, I can go through the two of them and be really happy, and I think at 7.4 it'll put me at a nice relaxed pace for the end of the night.
Sleepy.
I think in terms of how we judge it here, I think it's going to work against it because I think it's a great example of the style, but I'm going to give it a bomber as well just because it's not exactly my favorite style. So yes, I could easily drink a bomber of this.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't go any larger than that because it's not exactly my favorite style, but it's a good interpretation of the style.
Yeah, it's a spectacular.
I might pour. Hold on a second. Are you sure we have 200 entries for the comp? Maybe I'll pour some of this into some bottles.
There you go. What do we got? Here you go.
Some didn't show up.
No, this is really, and just that. Again, I'm gonna move back to the creaminess on the head. Like it just was that perfect one shade off a tan, one shade off a white, like. To have it there.
It had nice retention. It lingered.
Yeah, it hung around while I was drinking it, so you had that nice sip at the beginning of each. I like it. I was really, really happy about that one. So which one are we moving to next, Justin?
We're going to go to the You Enjoy Myself.
You Enjoy
the
Myself.
English Porter.
All right. I'm going to crack this open, and then I'm going to pour a little water in there.
I will say that it was fairly amusing. The next time I saw Matt and Lori after we had sent the emails in terms of what the names were, the three beers were going to be, they looked at me. They're like, "So what's up with the names of the beers?" They're like, "The Doppel the Pleasure, Doppel the Fun, Doppel the Bach. I get it." He goes, "But what's up with the least Belgian-y Belgian? Because it's really a French beer. And what does You Enjoy Myself mean?" So I'll give you a little explanation in terms of You Enjoy Myself. It's actually the name of a Fish song, one of my favorite Fish songs, You Enjoy Myself. And I just think the phrase itself is fairly amusing. So I think it'd be a good name for a beer. And I can't imagine people walking out to the bar and saying, "Can I have a You Enjoy Myself?" I just think it's amusing. So therefore, that's what people had to do. And I got to laugh.
I think that's a good enough reason for really to do almost anything.
Yeah, I agree.
If you can get a good laugh out of it, and it really at no expense to anybody else, like, fuck it, go for it, man. Like, I see no reason to ever say no to that.
The least Belgian-y Belgian is actually supposed to be called Clusterfuck, and those of you who are fans of the podcast, you listened to us make or watched us make this beer. This is the one where we first had Greg on, and we were brewing in the background.
Oh, okay.
We were brewing in the background, and my system ate itself, and we almost boiled over like a dozen times.
If you watch the video, you got to keep watching Justin,
which is funny.
Get off his ass, run over there, spray it, because it was on a full blast.
5,500 watts, 100%, about 2 inches from the top.
Yep.
So for an hour, every like 8 minutes, I had to get up.
And I think that's very appropriate that we happen to be recording in your brewery.
I didn't think about it until just now, honestly. That's what it was. But yeah, that was the homebrew version that got brewed. And, we're gonna move on to the two versions of that next. But for now, this is the English porter that I was a huge fan of. This was when we first tasted them, even before they got carved up. Really, when we went on the way home from HomebrewCon, this one was my favorite.
On the nose, this is excellent. You look at it; it's got a nice creamy tan head to it. Definitely has a nice retention to it. The smell is beautiful.
Yeah,
it has that nice Belgian yeast character. The English yeast character that comes through nice. Get a little bit of chocolate, a little bit of a slight roast character on the nose. I haven't tasted it yet, but I know it's good.
Dude, this is. I'm going to enjoy myself with this beer.
I would hope that you enjoy yourself.
Oh man, this is the kind of beer that I go for, man.
Yeah,
I really enjoy this beer. It's got just the right amount of bitterness to it to keep it from becoming too sweet. It has those sweet notes that I do really enjoy, and the foam is delicious on it.
Yeah, it was. It's actually the same base recipe as the British Brown that I've been brewing for a lot of years now.
Which I enjoy that beer as well.
Except the homebrew store that I went to that day did not have the special roast grains that I was looking for. So I just bought roasted malts, and I put the same amount of roasted malts in, which I knew was a mistake, but I figured, let's see what it comes out as. And it came out as this, and I was very happy with it. So
I think, we're recording now, and it's, the end of October. Like, this is wheelhouse time for this kind of beer.
Oh, yeah.
Let's start getting into beers that have a little bit more body, that warm you up. And it says 5.4 on it. Yep. To me, that's great. I'm gonna drink this. I'm gonna enjoy it and not get destroyed on it either.
My favorite part about this beer is the dark chocolate to roast transition. Mm-hmm. And then the sort of fruity English yeast character that comes in mid palate.
Yeah, the esters come in nice.
And then it cleans. There's enough bitterness from the roast combined with the bittering hops to clean the palate. And you get the slight lingering of roast on your tongue, but that's what you should get when you're drinking a beer like this. I mean, it is like quintessential English pub beer.
Yeah.
I did look the other day as I was deciding what entries I was going to be putting into the LIBME competition this year, and I did have 2 bottles of this left. So
now
hopefully by the time we listen to this, we'll be able to talk about how it hopefully had some success in the competition that we have coming up.
I also have an award-winning English porter in the competition.
So I'm going up against this guy now.
And I also have an award-winning brown ale in the competition.
Yeah, we'll be going against each other there as well. So
I'm going to try to warm this up a little bit, because I think as it warms up, some of those dark chocolate notes might become even a little bit more prominent. And that really appeals to me. I'm a big fan of dark chocolate.
Sure.
But I think this is just fantastic as is. This would... Dude, high five.
Therefore, you enjoy myself.
I love this. This is... Again, I would when I stopped by to pick up the Machine Gun Funk, right? That's what it was called?
Yes.
They have a dark English mild on tap.
Oh, really?
That I had. That was pretty good.
I've learned to really enjoy that style.
Like that's
So underrated.
Like that's a style that I really enjoy, and this is like its cousin.
I just made one a couple months ago.
It was
very 3.8%, and
Yeah.
it was just beautiful. It's just so crushable as much as we hate that word.
Oh God!
Knowing that I
wonderful.
was in between jobs and I had to go from job 1 to job 2 later, like when I saw that it was at like 4 or 5, I was like, yeah, I'll have a pint of that. Perfect.
I can't feel shitty about that.
I'm like, I don't even feel bad about that. My body won't even process that by the time I'm getting, like.
And I will say, crushable, I like far more than quaffable. Quaffable is the worst word on the planet.
Quaff in general is just a bad word.
Yeah, well, think about it. You have Quaff. There's a club in California. It's one of the largest homebrew clubs in the country.
And they're one that has seen a lot of success over the years.
Well, they have what's his face from Experimental Brewing, not Denny, the other one, the one I like. Fuck, I forgot his name. It's terrible.
I was right. As it warms up, the chocolate comes out a little bit more.
And it's got that dark chocolate too. You guys mentioned the dark chocolate.
Yeah,
it totally is a dark chocolate character.
It's not Hershey syrup. It's not
dark
chocolate. It's good dark chocolate.
Yeah.
And the roast character is really tasty. If you are a fan of mocha flavor, like this is what you're getting with this. It's really
if this were on nitro, it would be similar to a cold brew coffee.
Dude, I would just I would just weep.
This would be excellent on nitro, to be honest.
Yeah,
it really would. I think that creamy, again, I'm going back to creamy, like that texture that comes from nitro that would go with this would just be incredible.
Apparently, you can make your own cold brew coffee with, had like in fancy restaurants, they have their own whipped cream maker, like it's just a can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apparently, you can put the coffee, or in this case, beer, in that, fire it out of it, and it turns it into cold brew, like a nitro coffee.
The nitro coffee. Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say because like making cold brew is nothing. Like it's literally just steeping coffee.
I realized what I was saying, and I'm like, no, obviously that's not making cold brew. You can make cold brew without that, but the nitro part of that.
Yeah, dude, I'm loving this beer. This one for me is.
I will make it again at some point.
This is
might have been a mistake recipe, but the mistake recipe worked out.
This is happy mistake, and this is what I would do. I would put a little star in your recipe binder of if I can't get grain A, grain B is perfectly fine, and we're going to do this too.
So, something that I learned a couple years ago is it does not matter what you're intending to brew.
Oh, yeah.
It totally matters what you ended up getting in the outcome, because sometimes you might have had intention to brew a certain style,
right?
But then once you get the outcome and you figure out what it is, it might not be there. It might fit better into a different category, and this is a prime example of that. Even though I knew I was going to get a different beer than the basic British brown because I knew I had way too many roasted malts in it.
Right.
The final product, I was very happy with it. So
yeah. I really have no qualms about saying like this is a keg beer for me. This is if I had a bar in my house, like this is the kind of beer that I want hanging around to just have a pint of whenever.
Second keg of the year for you.
Yeah, like I try not to, give them out like candy, but like, and I know they tend to go to certain styles, but I think everybody has their style that they're favored for.
Yeah.
But for me, like, I think it's really well balanced. I really like the flavor with it. This is what I look for when I go for beer.
I surely wouldn't go for a keg for it, but I think I'd give it a nice growler. I could see myself sitting around having a couple of pints of this, no problem. But it wouldn't be something I'd always want to have on tap. Although I do like the English Porter style, it's not something I would always want to keep going back to over and over again. Even though when it's on tap at my house, I do go back to it over and over again.
This is one like if it was on tap in my house, like I would find myself kind of doing the thing like you do when you have something that you like in the fridge. And you kind of go back and you're like, oh, I'm going to grab one. And then, like, sip a little bit. And then be like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to refill this a little bit. Like, and next thing you know, like, you went through a lot more than you planned to.
You just described me with every package of Oreos ever.
Yeah, exactly. You think you're good. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to take a couple. And I'm just going to go away. And I'll leave them. And I'll come back tomorrow, right? Like, no. Like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to top it off one more time. And you know what? I'm watching one more episode. Let me just refill it a little bit.
Just 12 more cookies, Justin. Just 12 more.
You can't leave that one sleeve left. It's too lonely.
Exactly. So thank you for this, my man. Where's this fall for you?
I'm a growler. I typed it into our thing anyway. I'm a strong growler on it. I can't explain why it's not a keg because it's delicious. It's one of my favorite favorite beers that I've had from you, and just in general, homebrew judging wise, I'm pretty sure this is like at least top 3 score wise I've ever given a beer.
I believe you guys gave it a 40. You guys,
Yeah. Oh, just a 40.
I think
Okay,
the
then
score
maybe
was a
not.
40.
Yeah, I don't. I have to. I think I might have only given out maybe like 6 or 7 40s in like all the competitions I ever judged.
40,
So
I mean,
as far as
40's
I'm
it's-
concerned,
it's
as
at a
far as I'm
50
concerned,
it's at 50, right?
It's
Yeah.
at a 50, but you got to understand. I know that they got a 47 on their Lichtenhainer that time, but I've never really seen scores higher than like a 43.
I was gonna
I've seen
say,
some.
like
I've seen some meads get really high, but in terms of beers, if you
It's
see
really-
a beer getting a 42, 43, that's an
the
outstanding beer.
scores on the scores, the real range is really about from 20 to 45. We'll say 43 to
And
45.
45 is a stretch, to be
Yeah,
honest with
that's
you.
what- yeah.
45 is the grand slam,
Yeah.
but 40 is a home run. Like, that's what this is. This is a solid fucking home run.
If you
beer.
get a 20, the beer's probably a 6. If you get a 45, the beer's probably like a 50. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just
they're quibbling, looking for something to criticize.
And it's
Yeah.
interesting.
that
if
way,
you-
that way they can fill up their sheet.
as a judge, when you give a score that high, you put yourself in a position. You're like, all right, so I gave this beer 42. What exactly kind of feedback?
Yeah,
am I
why
gonna
isn't
give
it
this
why
beer?
isn't it a 50?
Yeah, because the person's going to want to know what they could do to make it a 50, and the beer is excellent, and you have to come up with some sort of reason. You're like, I couldn't really give it a 50. Maybe you could have done this.
Yeah, you could be like, I love this beer, and I usually write, I'm just nitpicking here, but
Yeah.
could have had a slight bit more bitterness, and I don't even really mean it most of the time.
No, you're just like, I have to put something.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, I didn't write 50. I have to put something there.
All right, so if there was anything that I could say, like in here, when you guys were talking about like the fruit esters, I didn't pick that up, and I think
Okay.
that's on me, not on you. Like,
No, it's all
I'm,
perception.
because I don't have that. I haven't trained my palate as well.
You get it on the
But-
nose, just
right?
smelling, you get that
but,
fruity ester
but
that
like
comes through. I
tasting
feel.
it, like I didn't pick up any kind of fruity feedback, like any kind of fruit in there, even if it was like a stone. So if I had to put like the one thing to sit there and be like, you did that one thing, or like
There
that's
you
what
go.
I
So-
would put.
So you'd give it a 42, and you'd say that it needs a little more ester profile.
Yeah, I wish
All
the
right.
ester profile was a little more prominent. Like that would be the bullshit. That I
I'll
would
take that in your overall impression.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll tell you that, and then be like, hey, by the way, do you have any more that I can take home? Because I really like it.
One time ever, I wrote on a score sheet, please send me the recipe, and I got the recipe, and it was for a lager.
Yeah,
Obviously, the most important part of a lager is the fermentation temperature and the fermentation profile.
And he didn't give it to you.
Yeah, all it says in the Beersmith file is my fermentation profile. So
Secrets.
yeah, so I was like, you know what? That's like, it was cool, like because like the grist on a lager, especially
Yeah.
like a
It's the
Czech
same.
lager, or whatever, it's like Pilsner malt, like
80%.
80%, and then like Carafoam, like 1% or something, and you're like, oh, cool, yeah, like all the other ones.
Thanks for all your secrets, buddy.
Thanks, dude. Thanks a lot. You know, that was I really enjoyed that. Thank you, man, for sharing that with us. All right, so are we going to the Bier de Garde or the least Belgian-y of the
Well,
Belgians?
so we're gonna go to Bier de Garde, and they're the same idea of a beer. So this is the beer.
Explain that. I don't understand what you mean
So
by
this
that.
is the beer that Mark, Greg, and I
This guy.
made on the other podcast.
No,
I mean,
nope. This is
no. This is the first version brewed at Moustache.
Yes.
But this is that recipe, and what we did was all three of these first three beers, include the first two, including this third one, were brewed on a 1-barrel system at Moustache, with the idea of let's find out which of the three beers is going to go to GABF.
Okay. Time out real quick.
Yeah.
That 1-barrel system, is that like their test batch system or something like that?
And they hadn't taken it out in years, so they
Yeah.
were actually really happy to take it out. You should have seen Matt's face. He
Yeah,
was
he
so
was, like,
excited.
stoked.
The first time that we went out there, he was so excited.
I was
He's
pissed
like,
I missed
He's
that.
like, and I'm gonna have the chance to do now little sample stuff rather than doing a big batch of something. I believe they have a 10-barrel system.
Yeah.
So rather than doing 10 barrels worth of something,
It's
now
10
they
or
can
5, I can't
Now
remember.
they can
Yeah.
experiment a little bit in terms
Yeah.
of just do one barrel of something.
The 1-barrel's got to be a nice size to play with.
It's a homebrew size. I mean, like the kettle behind me is a little over a half a barrel, so it's still a manageable thing.
Yeah, it's a big
still
homebrew
a
size.
really
You can get
handy
30 gallons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's not that bad.
It's still a very hands-on type of brewing. So
Yeah.
he kind of gets to go back to like his home brewing roots and
Yeah,
stuff.
you could do more experimental stuff. You could do stuff that might not be commercially viable in terms of doing 10 barrels worth it.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, you get to try some things that you might not have done on a 10-barrel system.
And at the same point, you can test it and run it out there and be like, hey, is this something, like, if you put it out there for a barrel and it blows out in the weekend and they go, hey, man, this was amazing, and you get a lot of requests for it, maybe you do go back and run a bigger system for it.
Definitely.
Which just wanted to mention because I haven't gotten a chance to be out there in so long that I finally got to join you guys at Moustache when we last recorded at Andrew's
Was that
house.
the first time in the new tasting room?
That was my first time in the new tasting room, and it is gorgeous.
Yeah,
they did a fantastic job making a really nice place.
So much of that work themselves, Matt.
Wow.
In particular, like the woodworking, the bar, like
kudos.
He's an extremely good woodworker. On top
I think
of being
Frank
a
was the bathroom guy, though. I think we got to give Frank
Frank did the tile work.
El Presidente of LIBME, Frank. Yes, he did. He did the bathrooms. That's true.
Did he do the tile work or the plumbing? What's he do? I don't know.
He's a contractor, so he does a little bit of everything. I'm sure. I don't think he did the plumbing, but I think he basically framed the whole thing out. I think he might have even tiled it.
Yeah, speaking of El Jefe, I had to submit the list to Starfish for the Great Beer Expo for all the people who are volunteering to help with the competition. And I put the people's name and I put what their title is next to it. So, of course, Frank's title was Frank Felicione, El Jefe.
El Jefe. I've worked in kitchens before, and the last kitchen that I worked at, it's really funny because I worked for a guy that could pass for Frank's like brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I used to call him like, "Hey, Jefe, what are we doing?" You know, and he was a crazy human being. Taught me two things that were really important.
Frank in his own little way, but the best way possible.
He taught me two really important things. One, if you show up late to work, bring a gift for your boss.
All right, that's a good lesson.
Just bring him coffee or something
so,
like that.
So for him, you had to bring him a Snickers bar and a coffee, and if you did, it was cool. And the other thing was the 7 Ps. The proper prior preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Yeah.
I had never heard that before, but he did that one, and that was his life.
That's wild, because I have the 5 Ps hanging in my classroom. I have prior preparation prevents potential problems, which is very similar.
Which is definitely the school version of it. You know, the piss poor performance is, it's really the only part that it's in there, and I use it all the time when I'm coaching.
Yeah.
I try to explain it to kids. But those are the two things I learned from him.
That's ironic, too, because I got that from my friend who's a chef.
Hey,
so my friend who's a chef used to say that prior preparation prevents potential problems, and now I have it hanging in my classroom.
Because you know what? When you're working in the kitchen, you have to get your prep work.
Mise en place.
If the place isn't ready to go, you're fucked. You with the proper mise en place, you can get through amazing things, but if you don't have things ready, you can't be running around trying to do it
you're not chopping all those onions last minute.
No,
I think we're gonna finish this beer by the time we start talking about it. That's the funny thing.
I want to say, just the first quick thing, I really like the little. I'm picking up a little bit of red highlights.
Yeah, the red hue that comes through.
Yeah,
right?
it's got little ruby highlights in there, and it's a really, really pretty color.
Yeah, so as Greg hinted to before, it's least Belgian. It's a beer de garde. Technically, as far as the BJCP is concerned, it's Belgian style. It's really sort of a French beer. Belgian beers typically have a clove, banana, bubblegum shit going on. This has none of that, which is good for Greg because Greg does not like Belgian beer.
And that's where really the name came from. Because when we were deciding what we were going to brew, when Justin and I ran out to Coney Island and got the wort share from Coney Island, we were discussing what we were going to make, and there was a group chat between me, Mark, and Justin, and Mark mentioned the beer de garde, and I looked up the category, and it was in the Belgian ale category, and I'm like, guys, I'm not really a big fan of Belgians, and the response to me was, it's the least Belgian-y Belgian.
Yeah.
And that's really where the name came from, and it really is the least Belgian-y Belgian, especially since it's a French beer.
Well, I think the thing that makes it appear Belgian or feel Belgian is that little bit of candy sugar feel.
Yes, I agree.
It has that little bit of feel of caramelized sugar candiness to it.
Absolutely.
And the color that really makes me feel like it's a Belgian beer.
You're
right.
Crisp.
It doesn't have those signature esters in there. I love when you get those banana flavors in there.
Yeah, the Hefeweizen.
I really enjoy that. Even the bubblegum I tend to a little swing away from a little bit.
I'm big on the clove side.
Yeah, clove I like, but something about the bubblegum just kind of freaks me out a little bit. It just messes with my head. I don't know, too much, Topps baseball card bubblegum just messes with me.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
Crack your teeth apart.
But
Thanks for that Lenny Dykstra rookie card. Now I need a root canal.
but no, man, like this, it really does feel like a Belgian beer. It really does.
It does, and basically the style is extremely malt forward. It's in fact you can even be not cloyingly sweet, but the lingering sweetness I believe is part of what should be in there. And caramel and toffee notes are huge on it, but on a lower scale, not on like a dark beer level. Similar to how we were saying like nutty and toffee for the English porter. This one's on the lighter end of the caramel, so it's not like all the way caramelized. And that's this first one gives me all of those notes. And my criticism of it, and it stays the same now, was I think that there's not enough bitterness to balance the clawing level of sweetness.
I think that's why when we made the final version that we were sending to the GABF, that was what we had come up with, was to make those necessary changes, because I do think that this is a bit too sweet. Even though they picked this as the winner, I think that this version of it was a little too sweet, and I'm hoping that, and I tried it on tap at Moustache, the final version, but I'm hoping that this came through and it's a little bit more well balanced in terms of not cloyingly sweet.
So I think it is balanced. I think when I think of Bière de Garde, I think of that's a spring beer.
Yes.
And so I like a floral note to appear in there, and so a floral hop kind of aroma to come with it, I think balances out the sweetness well.
Okay.
And that's not present here. And so I think that's why you get that you're getting that candy sugar feel, you're getting the hop, you're getting the Belgian flavor to it, but there isn't necessarily the counterpoint to balance it out in that sense. Does that make sense?
I think it just needs a little bit more. I think there is a little bit of the balance, but in terms of what is necessary...
It stays on my palate just too long.
Yes, it does stay on the palate. It's just got to clean it up a little bit more at the end, and I think that's where it was lacking on this version.
And this might sound a little crazy, but I think like a chamomile kind of flavor would go amazing with this.
I can see that.
I could see putting tea in it for sure, because the bitterness from the tea would balance the sweetness really well. It would almost be like putting it would be the reverse of honey and tea. Would be tea and honey kind of.
Right. I think
the reverse of honey and tea would be tea and honey. Deep thoughts by Justin Hansen.
Oh, yeah. Well done. Right? Come on, guys.
Verklempt.
Discuss.
It's my shower thought for today.
But I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say here. Like, I think a little bit of floralness to it would provide...
Yeah, with the right hops, you can definitely add a little bit of a floral character to it, too.
Would provide that kind of springtime feel to it, and I think would really make a good counterpoint.
One of the interesting things about this particular style
is
there's actually 3 color variants.
Color variants.
The range is so wide.
I
remember looking at that.
There's a yellow. I don't know if it's yellow, but there's a pale. I think it's pale. The fuck is the other one? Pale, amber, and brown. This is clearly a brown variant. And basically, in that order, it goes. You would have more prominent hop character in the pale version than the amber version, and then the brown version has the most prominent hop character. But you're right. The having another like a hop flavor or more bitterness, that would probably clean the palate a little bit. Yeah. And one of the other things that we decided upon when we were talking about this, how we could make it better, is and one of the challenges was that we were kind of told what was in the Coney Island wort.
Okay.
But like what we did for the original recipe was we took that base wort and we steeped a bunch of aromatic malt and a couple of other malts in with it to get what we have here. The original wort we had,
I believe it was just Turo, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what we were told. But then we did that and it didn't come out anywhere near the same. So I mean, I'm sure that's what it was. I don't know what happened. And the other X factor is the fact that it was being boiled by Satan behind us for an hour.
Yes.
So
you boiled the devil out of it.
So the whatever Maillard reaction or whatever caramelization was occurring, like it was on Mach 20 back there. And
I'm just thinking of like Bob Ross when he always beats the paddle, beats the brush. Beat the devil out of it. Just beat the devil out of it.
See, I only remember his happy little trees. It was great to fall asleep to, man.
Oh, beautiful. That guy was
I'm going to take a nap. I'm putting Bob Ross on.
That guy was on all the weed. All of it.
I used to come home from school, and that would be on PBS.
Nap time!
And it was perfect. I would get in, and it started at 2 o'clock. I'd get in at like 2:15, ran till 3 o'clock.
Done by 2:20.
Right, and I'm out, and then I wake up to, if you would like to join,
Oh yeah.
if you'd like the whole series, I'm like,
You're like,
all right,
I'm not donating anything
Yeah.
to put him back on. I want to go back to sleep.
which, a little bit off topic here. All right, I've been listening to a Real Play D&D podcast, which I enjoy.
Sorry.
Sorry, I enjoy it. It's entertaining to me. They brought on a random player who had a Bob Ross style character, and it was fucking hysterical.
All right.
Bob Ross casting, magic tricks.
happy trees.
Yeah, and because the guy who was playing it kept going, all right, so I'm just gonna mix a little phthalo green and a little cadmium white, and we're gonna paint a little happy little tree here, and it's gonna cast this spell. And I was
That's
laughing my
pretty
ass
hilarious.
off.
I have to
He
say
did
it's
a
pretty hilarious.
really good job with it, so it was hysterical. But
That's pretty
that
cool.
was my most recent Bob Ross experience.
The other change we made because we were concerned about the base malt is we changed the base malt from 2-row to Vienna. And we also went from a 60-minute boil to I think a 2-hour boil to try to mimic the ridiculous boil we had going on. And then also we bumped up the Special B or the aromatic. Can't remember. I think we bumped up the Special B considerably.
What is Special B?
Special B is a Belgian malt, and
Okay.
it's specifically, I believe, produced by Dingmans. And it their process in producing it is, I believe, is very proprietary.
I'm sure.
And it creates stone fruit character in a really
Interesting.
great way. It's technically a crystal or caramel malt,
Okay.
but the Levabond is strange. Levabond's like 140 to 160, which is close to like what we call no man's land.
Right.
There's a whole gap there where you don't kill malts too because they become ashy and kind of gross.
Okay, you just get bad flavors out of that.
Exactly. It's basically somewhere between, I think it's between 140 and like 200 with the exception of pale chocolate. For some reason, pale chocolate's cool. Probably because of the process.
Yeah,
But
that sounds like so much cooking stuff. You hit
Yeah.
it just right, it's great. Otherwise, it's fucked.
You fucked it up now.
so, it's a special, really a very, special beast, but very special malt. And we increased that to give it more of that character. And, the aromatic malt is going to give you, it's almost like a Maillard reaction in a grain.
Yeah.
It gives you a lot of that caramel character, that like true caramel character that you think
Right.
about. So we made those changes, and now we have the final beer we're going to taste, which is the version.
Well, we didn't rate this one.
Oh, we didn't rate this one.
No.
It's
So,
true.
I want to hear what you got.
I'd go first. I'd go for a pint of this, to be honest with you.
Yeah?
I think the sweetness on the end needed a little bit more to close it up. I think I wouldn't want to do much more than a pint of this in terms of. I wouldn't want a whole bomber of this. I wouldn't want a growler of this. And it sounds like a bad rating, but it's still a very good beer.
Yeah. No, I understand.
It has slight flaws in it that all compound into something that I think that you can drink. I agree. I mean, I tend to agree with a pint. I'm going to give it a bomber, but I tend to agree with the whole idea of the pint. I want a bomber because I want to drink 2 of them, but I'm going to put a beer in between as a palate cleanser.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Because I think it builds on my tongue tremendously. Like it really claws at my tongue after a while.
I'm going to go with pardon me. I'm going to go with a bomber as well, but kind of for a different reason. I would drink them back to back, and as I said with the floral notes, I say that solely because of what you're trying to go for. If you tell me that's a bière de garde and that's what you're trying to go for, that's what I would say like it needs. But if you just hand this to me as is and say, I just drink this beer, it tastes really good, I would drink one and I'd be like, I really enjoy this. And then I'd say, you know what, let me have one more of those and I'd really enjoy it. And probably by the second one, I would be like, you know what, there's a little too much going on here. I need that to clean out a little bit. And then I would move on to it.
Yeah, it has that lingering sweetness at
Yeah,
the end.
it's just a little bit of sweetness. I can feel it kind of in the insides of my cheek a little bit.
Absolutely.
It's a little not puckery, but like I can feel that on the insides there. So yes, definitely, I'm going to rinse out my glass and kind of take a sip of water before we go to the last version.
A little bit of water. Plus, these are all extremely strongly flavored beers.
Yeah.
So, drinking them back to back, it can definitely fatigue the palate.
Right.
I mean, they're so hop forward. They destroy your palate. They're not palate wreckers.
No, they're very malty. So and that malt flavor tends to build
In a different way.
very much so. I mean, they're not. Yeah, the farthest thing from a clean lager.
I got to say that this is definitely more my wheelhouse kind of styles. Like,
Hell yeah.
this is the kind of stuff that I start to put together, and I'm like, when I'm looking at a board, and I go, all right, let me get one of those, one of those, and I'll try that one. Like, this is my kind
Seems
of
like
stuff.
a good flight right there.
You know,
Yeah.
I really enjoy beers that tend to go from amber and a little bit darker, and the fact that we haven't had anything that's super dark, really, is, I mean, that the English porter was definitely dark, but
It wasn't black.
The overly,
That was a light black.
yeah, it was definitely a light black.
Here we go with the light black.
You love the light black.
I've written light black on score sheets before.
And
Really?
those people probably judged you.
Well, they definitely.
You might have judged them.
I knew.
They judged you.
I knew whose beer it was. That's why I did it.
I hope it was Mark's.
Was it on Mark's?
It was Mark's.
That's different, though. You guys are like dating, sort of.
Yeah, it's true.
No,
I go
not
places.
sort of.
I go places and people are confused as to why he's not there. Like,
I feel really awkward with him not being here right now.
yeah, I'm like, don't bring it up. I'm trying to forget.
Justin is legitimately a beneficiary on his 401k.
Yeah.
If Amy and the kids don't make it.
Well, that's fantastic. My friend Glenn, when I forgot my first real job,
wasn't he?
he was. I put him down. Like, I put him down as my life partner on my life insurance and shit. And people were like, "Your life partner." I go, "Just go with it." Like,
But when I walked in, you were in the corner crying because Mark wasn't here. It was weird.
yeah, it was very weird. Yeah,
Listen, I went into a business one time and where Tony was working, and I said that I was his hetero life mate,
yeah.
and they went, "Oh, okay, yeah, cool." Like, they didn't even like.
Oh, come on back.
Yeah, I literally went, "Is Tony here?" And you go, "Who should answer?" I'm like, "His hetero life mate," and they're like, "Oh, okay, sure, fine, whatever." Like, and they go get him. He's like, "Ah!" I'm like, "You're my boy." There
Yeah.
we go. All right, so let's open up V2 here.
Yeah, so this is the version that ended up getting sent to GABF.
Ooh, good crack.
Spoiler alert, it did not win any medals at GABF, unfortunately.
Oh,
But
it got there.
yeah,
I was in the game, bro.
Listen, there were
132 entries.
there were only
To get
132
a top
entries.
3, it's tough.
Dude, we were all the people this year that tried to get a beer to go to GABF, and we got it to go. Like, especially considering the roots of the beer and the story behind it.
Listen,
it's super cool.
You were in the room, bro. Step in the right direction.
This is the second time that I've had a beer out of GABF. You want to talk about the other one, Kevin? I know you really liked Stash It.
Oh, that was
Now that I'm here, we can speak face to face about it, rather
Sure.
than you bashing it on the podcast.
Listen, I don't like the green pepper flavor. Sorry. There's
Now,
Not my
Apparently,
thing.
the judges at GABF didn't either because that didn't medal.
Listen.
now
Clearly,
he feels totally awkward.
clearly, I'm a big fan of your brewing when you brew good beers.
Oh, it's like that.
Oh man,
Ken Heist was the head brewer on that beer. I'm just going to throw it out there. You're
okay.
disrespecting Ken right now, not me so much.
I have never met Ken. Ken, listen, dude, it wasn't my thing, bro.
yeah, this was it. This was the one. So
And the finish on it, that's what's so drastically different.
yeah,
My problem with the last version,
Yeah.
and the way I'm wording it right there sounds so bad, but what I thought needed to be enhanced in the version that was going out to GABF, and we all agreed on this, was it definitely needed a little bit better of a finish. That it just came off as way too sweet on the finish. Now with this version, I love the way that this finishes.
This finishes a way cleaner.
Yes.
Way cleaner.
And that's what it needed.
This you get. I also think we increased the final Saz edition as well.
I think we did too.
Okay.
and I get
that makes sense.
I get spiciness. I get a spicy herbal notes on the aroma.
And you have to remember that this is also a lot fresher too. This is 3 months fresher.
Yes, very very true. But I didn't.
Okay.
I was surprised in particular on both the Doppelbock and the first version of the Belgian. I was very surprised that there wasn't more. Like, I didn't get any hints of any oxidation.
Not at all.
None. It tasted just like I did when they were on the
Yet
tap.
again, back to Mustache. Your crowler machine is great.
You're killing it, man.
Good job training everyone how to use it too. Good job.
Yes, your bartenders have been trained properly.
That Saz edition, I think, is the hero of this one, and also I think the Special B brings up the raisin character and balances the caramel sweetness a lot too. If I'm remembering correctly,
You do get a little more raisin in here, but that spiciness that you're talking about from the Saz is really, to me, what was missing.
yeah.
You think that's what cleans it up at the end?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think
big
that's
time.
a sharp enough flavor that it cleans it off. It prevents it. it doesn't have that same sugariness to it, that same sweetness to it that the last one did. And that's really where this one is nice and clean. It finishes clean, and I think that's what comes through. I'm going to blame Crawling on the Floor with the Cats for not getting aroma, because I don't know. Like, I'm going to trust you guys on the aroma part. But I didn't realize how much I liked that cleanness to it until I tried this.
Yeah, in
version.
terms of the
Does that
aroma-
make sense? Like, until I tried it, I didn't realize I was missing it.
Having them side by side is really mind bending.
Yeah, because they are drastically different beers. They really are.
And also, before we brewed this version, I brought the
You brought
whatever.
the original homebrew.
I brought the
version,
original.
yes.
I found a bottle of the original homebrew version.
Oh, okay.
And we had it next to version 1 for
Right.
Moustache, and that's when we sort of realized like
We're looking for more of this.
the malt complexity, like that's just malt sweetness, but that balance between what we're calling the raisin and the caramel,
Right.
is 100% part of the beer, and then the cleanness and that whole
Right.
all that whole working together, and that's how we made these changes. And I don't think we could be more successful. I'm actually I was. After I tasted the second version, I'm like, we're fucking meddling with this. I mean, this is insane. I've drank a shit ton of beers, and this is, I think, one of the most two-style beers that I have ever had.
Yeah, I'm very happy with the way that this one came out.
I think this is one that you have to look at and say, like, listen, just because you're going up against some fantastic competition at GABF, and I don't think you can hold it against yourself to say, like, man, we didn't meddle, like, this isn't good. Like, this is a really excellent beer, and I think this is one that really any brewery would be happy to serve.
What I liked is my cousin lives out in Colorado, and at one point I got a text from him of him sitting outside of the booth drinking this.
Yeah.
So my cousin from Colorado was sitting out there drinking it. So
Nice.
I don't have an opportunity to send him any of my beers, and he's a home brewer himself. So
Okay.
it was really nice for him to give me a little feedback on the beer that we made as a little collaborative effort over here.
No,
I didn't know that. That's badass. That's
That's
super
really cool. I like that. No,
he actually volunteers at Great American Beer Festival every year, so he gets into a couple different sessions and pours and carries kegs or whatever else he does.
Probably about 10 years from now, when we don't have to worry about our kids anymore, we'll probably get to go.
I think I got to wait till I retire and my kids are in college,
No, you
but
don't.
I will get out there at some point.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Your kids are much closer. They're at the point where they could totally stay with grandparents for a couple days.
Oh no, and they have stayed with the grandparents. My grandparents, my parents and my wife's parents are great with stuff like that. It's just it falls at a really bad time during the school year.
Yeah.
And I'm overly dedicated to my profession, and I can't really burn days like that, especially at the beginning of the school year. I don't
hear
feel
you.
comfortable with that. So
I hear you,
I
bro.
think I'm going to wait until I retire to get
Oh,
myself
I
out to GABF.
forgot about that. I forgot about that part of it.
This year in particular, because we had the beer going out there.
It was as good an excuse as you're going to get, right?
It was right around the time of the Jewish holidays. If I'm correct, we had off Monday, Tuesday that week.
Yeah.
And I would have had to take off Thursday, Friday, and the following Monday that week. So it was just really horrible. I would have been in school one day that whole week.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the school year, you're trying to set a structure for your class. It just wasn't a good idea.
Try to show them who's boss.
I taught for a couple
Boot
years.
camp.
I taught for a couple years. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, the beginning of your
I
class,
really
you're
do.
trying to set some sort of foundation. You're trying to set some sort of...
Establish the routine.
establish the routine is exactly what it is and get them used to the way it's going to be. And as soon as they have a day with a sub that early in the school year, they get very comfortable and things could get ugly.
Got to smash them down and beat the life out of
No.
them. And then
This
build
is
them
not
back
me
up.
saying this.
No, I know that. I know that.
Yeah.
That was actually that was a reference to a friend of ours.
Yeah.
That was his thought process.
This is why he doesn't teach anymore. So
One of many
Exactly.
reasons.
yeah. So I am ridiculously happy with this beer. I was when I first tasted it at Moustache. I remember running up to Matt at the meeting and going, "This is ridiculous! Like this is so good." This is it's one of the things that again, it's style on the boards. People see beer to guard. If you're an adventurous drinker or someone who, like me, wants to try new styles all the time, you're gonna it's really cool. But it's hard for someone who's what we'll call a standard beer drinker to expand their palate.
Yeah, because it's not the kind of style. If you go to breweries around Long Island or go into a local beer distributor or something like that, it's not a kind of style that you see often, or if ever really.
There are not a lot of commercial examples.
No.
Of
So
the beer to
let
garden.
me tell a little story here. When I went to go pick up those beers the other, what was that? Friday.
Yeah.
That's yesterday, right? It's Saturday.
Yes.
I don't even know what
They're
day it is.
all end in a Y.
I don't even know what day it is anymore. Anyway, so I'm in there, and I'm in the Brewers Collective, and 3 guys walk in, like, total, not beer drinkers. And you could see they're looking at the board, they're like...
Well, especially Brewers Collective. They got some eclectic shit.
Yeah,
So.
but they're just like, well, what's that? Like,
Can I have a Groot?
Yeah, and the guy is asking, and I don't know who the bartender was. I didn't recognize him. Bald guy with a...
Oh, yeah, Rob.
Yeah. So he's there. And he's asking all the right questions. Well, what do you like, and what can you do? And he's like,
He's very
Just
good.
give him a seltzer and shut him up.
and I think that's what one of the guys ended up doing.
Absolutely.
But
Did you have White Claw?
but they were just like, what's going? Like they were like, what's this thing? What's that? And I'm just like, I understand.
At least
like,
they cared enough to want to know a little bit about it.
But he was good. He tried to walk him through it, but they were just. I'm like, no, seeing that guy at the bar, like, so how many IPAs do you have? Which IPA do you have? I'm like, yeah, this is the wrong spot for you, bro. You're supposed to be over in Lindenhurst. Go to 27A. He'll hit you up with like 6 of them.
And they just released that gummy bear beer over there, which I am going there tomorrow, and I'm trying
You're
to go
going there tomorrow?
I sure am. I'm
When are
going
you-
to Lindy tomorrow.
When are you going and why?
Well, partially because WA Meadworks and 27A are both gracious enough to be giving contributions and donations for prizes for the LIBME competition.
Oh, that's very
but
good.
that
That's-
gives me a nice
you-
excuse to get out of the house.
Do you need
and
any
go
company?
over. I was hoping that we could hold hands and skip. So
Yes, in.
I'm now picturing you two skipping down Wellwood Avenue.
Yeah, because
Very
I
I hope
happily.
every listener is picturing that.
I hope so too. And you know what it's going to look like? It's going to look like that video game Rampage when we were kids, with the fucking monsters
The two
climbing the buildings
dinosaurs
and just
just
smashing
And
into
all
the
of a sudden,
ground.
you look at the news tomorrow. They're like, on the Richter scale.
Yeah. So I'm going to kick the ratings off. This is going to be my first keg, and it's not just because it's ours. I genuinely love this beer. I've not been as happy with a beer I've drank in an extremely long time.
I really enjoy this, and even though it wasn't the change that I said I wanted in that beer, it's still a really, really good change to that beer. I'm still thinking like, okay, a floral note would be really nice, but the Saaz is delicious, and Saaz is one of my favorite hops. That spiciness that comes with it.
Not Willamette.
Yeah, I don't need Wilmot. Give me Saaz. I really enjoy that.
I've listened once or twice.
You're a pretty good listener.
Super fan.
It's going to be a bomber for me again, just because I think it's just that style and just that flavor that at that point, like, I need to change pace and make a flavor change to it. But I really, really enjoy it, and it's something that I want to have around.
In terms of how this cleans up, I'm going to go with a growler for this one. I wouldn't go with a keg because, again, it's not one of my favorite styles per se.
But technically speaking, you like a Belgian beer.
Oh, stop yourself. Listen, I'm not a hater of the Belgian beers, but in general, it's not my favorite. I'd much rather a stout, a porter, a brown, an IPA.
What about a
I have other
Belgian? What about a
things that
Belgian
I-
stout?
See, and then all of a sudden you bring that up, and I'm going to slap you in the face. But I am going with a growler with this one because I think it's excellent. I wouldn't mind having a couple of them, but I wouldn't, in terms of want a keg of it where it's going to continuously be poured night after night.
I completely understand that, and I agree. Like, for me, like, this is something that if I had a stash of bombers of, I'd be really excited to share with people.
Absolutely.
Like, I would love to have a case of bombers of these and just be able to be like, yo, you got to try this one, and pour some out for it. I would have some. I'd give it to somebody else, because if this wasn't made by you guys, this is one that I would be like, yo, you guys got to try this, and you would enjoy it. And
you pour some out for your homies too?
No, never. My homies respect the fact that we shouldn't waste beer like that, putting it out there.
Oh, you like that? Okay.
Yes, that is how it goes.
Tupac taught me different.
To channel my
I
inner
grew up in suburbia, man. It's not that way for me.
to channel my inner Paul Comsick.
I'm Inglewood.
I would say that this is a flipping palates beer.
At the end of the day,
See,
it is a
it could
flip.
be, absolutely.
At
Yeah.
the end of the day,
And
this is a flipping palate.
Oddly enough, the first beer to guard I ever had, Paul made at Brickhouse. Now
There
it
you
was
go.
very different. It was a pale version. It was definitely hoppier.
That is a very good.
It's
beer to guard.
absolutely fantastic beer to guard. So,
I don't know
this
if
is
you've had many beers from Paul that weren't fantastic.
yeah,
though, right?
seriously.
There's really only
I
like
am
one
so
or two that
excited
he's
for
made that I wasn't.
I am so
huge
excited for
fan
Ghost to open. By the way,
Yeah,
now
oh.
we talk about Paul.
And by the way, do you know where the next beer meeting is?
I did see that.
So, just as a side note, I was saying there aren't a lot of commercial examples of beer to card. There's literally one made in the U.S., and it's Russian River Perdition, which I've never even heard of.
had.
So
I've heard of Russian River,
Russian
but I've
River,
never had.
heard of that.
I've never heard of Perdition. I've heard of Russian River, but the rest of them are definitely made in like Belgium and Belgium,
France, probably.
basically. La Choulée.
be honest,
There's
when it
one
gets to
called
the-
Sheet.
When
I
it
swear to
gets-
God.
When it gets to the
I
edge
don't
of like
give a
Belgium
shit.
and France, I don't think even the people that know there which country they're in. Like, come on, it's changed so many times over the centuries. They don't.
I'm gonna try to find.
Voulez-vous.
I'm gonna try to find this La Choulette. It is all three versions. They have it's blonde. Blonde is the pale version. Blonde, a brown, and an amber.
Good luck.
That makes sense. I went back to the "You Enjoy Myself" because there was still a little bit left in the bottom of the can.
Yeah. Did we murder that 32 ounces?
There is like a splash left.
Just
if
pour that
anybody
bitch in
wants.
your beer
All right,
glass.
so I'm going to finish this up because thank God you've moved closer than mastic.
Yeah, that was definitely a bonus.
Yeah,
So-
I'm going to finish this.
I'm impressed. My biggest thing I'm impressed by is the fact that these crowlers held up. Like I'm very happy with that. I was very worried we were going to get like oxidized versions of these beers and have to be explaining it
And
away
you know
the
what,
whole time.
It is, and we've said it now 3 times, but it's a big compliment to Moustache and the way that they're actually packaging. But back to Moustache, it's amazing that they are willing to do this with us, and we've worked with a lot of different breweries over the years in terms of the Proam, and we've had great experiences. And working with Moustache, especially being part of 2 of these beers, was excellent. We are looking forward to next year. I will give a little shout out to Spiderbite, who's going to be taking us next year. That is now official documentation. Our Pro-Am will be working with Larry and
They signed the contract. You're in. You're stuck.
no signing contracts. We don't have to get that official with it. We had a quick conversation with.
Was there a handshake at least?
Me, Frank, Andrew, and Larry. I think there might have been a high five or like a group like, hey, but we are official. We're going to be working with Spiderbite next year, and
Very cool.
I look forward to that, and hopefully have another opportunity to brew over there, which would be cool. So
Yeah, I can't wait to brew with Larry.
How
next
big
year.
a system is Larry running these days?
I don't know off the top of my head. I would say it's probably in the 5 to 7 range.
Because I know he's been
I
cranking
believe
them
it's
out now.
I believe it's smaller than that. I
it
think
might
he's
be
really
3?
only working on a 3-barrel.
Yeah,
system.
you know what? You're right. Now that I think about it, you're totally right. Look, remembering what it looks like, it's 3-barrel. Yes, the production runs are they're not done there. So he's not like he would be literally brewing 24/7.
I was going to say he must
keep
be,
up with that.
yeah. He's being distributed now all the way fucking to Western Pennsylvania.
You see him everywhere.
Yeah.
I really do. They're doing a great job getting out there.
He's going to I think this weekend he's at a beer festival like somewhere in Pennsylvania. I'm not 100% sure, but I know he's been to one before.
Because you know what? Not only is Larry a great guy, he
Yeah.
really produces great beers,
Yeah.
and
And
that's
also
why I look forward to working with them this year.
Everyone thinks about like Boris and the IPAs,
but
but
Boris-
Well,
is
when
so
you think
fucking
about Boris, everyone thinks about Boris with them because nearly every competition, I feel like these days, it's like, oh wow, Spiderbite won again with Boris because they've won so many competitions with
but
that beer.
he makes badass English beers. He's got Queen Melba, which is an Imperial
that is
Brown
a
Ale,
really
which
good-
is
He's got a
phenomenal.
brown. He's got the brown, and he's got the imperial version of that
Yeah.
brown. He's got the Melba and the Queen Melba.
Right, and he's got
I like that. I like just the straight up Melba. Like that is
And Melba's an LIBME member. Melissa, she's been
she's
been
amazing.
involved with us for
Yeah,
years.
we know
so she's
Melissa.
great.
Yeah, no, but that Melba Brown that's a big. I'm a big fan of that.
Bready McBreadface, dark mild.
That
Bready
was good.
McRyeface, same thing but with rye.
And they have a slew of IPAs, different rye IPAs,
Yeah.
small IPAs, big IPAs.
Black Toes, which is a black lactose IPA.
I have not had that one.
It's Black Toes. It's literally Adam Sandler's fucking foot from what is that, Big Daddy? I
that's
guess.
great.
Yeah, my
Yeah,
favorite
Mr.
part.
Deeds, that's it.
Yeah, Mr. Deeds. You're right. That's the one. My favorite part. I'm a Mug Club member at Spiderbite. My son's daycare used to be nearby, so I would go and stop by before I picked my son up. It sounds terrible. Come get me, CPS.
Knock knock.
So I would go in, and his favorite thing. Like I love talking to him. He go, "I got a new name for a beer." And he starts with the name and then ends up with the beer. Like 90% of the time, that's how I feel like it works. So we have to get him on to talk about
and
it.
I'm the type that doesn't really save any empty cans, empty bottles, anything like that. But one empty can that I still have sticking around is that good old Miami Vice beer that they made.
Oh yeah, with him and Steve.
It's so classic.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was I don't remember exactly what style it was, but it was like, you know, the straight up Miami Vice logo. And Spider Vice was the name of the beer.
Yeah, it was so
Yes,
well
I
done. It
remember
was
that
a
one.
great beer, and the can work. The artwork on the can was wonderful.
Yeah, it's gonna be it'll be interesting. It'll be really good.
That one, and I think that one was great. I think Freddie McRae Face was probably one of the last ones that I ran there for. That I was like,
good.
like, dude, this is
Oh,
good.
I bought cans last night. I bought cans All Hallows Eve.
Oh, nice.
Oh, they have that great pumpkin. Yeah,
That's phenomenal, and,
That is a really good
that's a phenomenal one. So I can't wait for that, but I also think there may be more to come from the least Belgian and Moustache. We'll see. But you know, if we rebrew that or if we do anything else with that, we'll let you know.
Well, even if they don't rebrew it, I hope that you guys rebrew it. Like, I think it's worth that you guys redo it yourselves, you know, and make some more of it, because that's something that I would love to experience again.
That's what
I do want more of it. You guys have to understand that solely my whole purpose of this was to get more beer into my face. And the fact that you guys are brewing more beer makes it even easier for me to get more beer in my face.
You just got to hope to contain us. We just keep going.
Oh yeah,
There you go.
My I know that Mark and I are rebrewing the this version of the least Belgian. We're going to brew this on the home system
Seems
for the
like I'm
upcoming.
being left out of this one.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're definitely leaving him out, cutting him right out. And then we're going to be doing that on the homebrew scale for the upcoming competition season, and we're going to be making tweaks to the pale Doppelbock, because that was a pretty decent beer when it came to competition, but there were a lot of themes that we got back.
Okay.
That I kind of translated right into this that we're going to change, and hopefully both of those will medal in NHC next year.
Well,
There you go.
And Greg, I hope you send out You Enjoy Myself to a couple of competitions, because I think this is worthwhile.
It's gonna get a red ribbon at LIBME.
Yeah.
Why red?
Because I don't know, I might have a beer in that category.
Exactly.
I hope-
Why red?
Well, I hope
Nice.
you send this out to other competitions that aren't rigged against you, because I think this really deserves quite a lot of medals, man. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
believe those were my last two bottles, so
Well-
I have to do it again at some point.
I think you've got a great base with it, and you said you just changed the one thing. So, man, just keep going with that. Just keep changing one thing, and just see what you get, because you're starting with a great base to begin with. So,
Absolutely. Thank you.
this has been really enjoyable, and we haven't recorded in a couple weeks. Like, really sat down and recorded. Like, we went to Andrew's house, but it's not the same as sitting down and doing it. And man, I miss
What
doing
he's trying
this.
to say is that you enjoy myself.
Yes.
Yes, we'll leave it at that. Cheers.
All right, well,
everybody.
we miss you, Mark. Cheers.
Who's Mark?
Cheers.
If you enjoyed Beertastic Voyage, please be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to review and rate us. The guys can be found online at www.beertasticvoyage.com, on Facebook at www.facebook.com/beertasticvoyage, and Twitter and Instagram at Beertastic Show, or send them a good old-fashioned email at beertasticvoyage@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and cheers for local beers.